we're gonna need you there. And I wanna be sure that nothing, absolutely nothing, stands in the way of you being the best doctor. Whether it's community work that you do, clinical work, whether it's research, whatever it is, administrative work, don't let anything stand in your way because you're talented, you're capable, and I'm gonna count on you guys to really be there for us as your future patients.
AMP opened its doors to me as a fourth-year med student, and I got to do the clerkship and sort of open the eyes to like, oh, I think I can see myself at Penn. But really, this initiative is really, really cool just because I was not expecting how much I was gonna walk away with or grow through this process as much as I'm seeing the mentees. I think the program in general just provides such a great opportunity for the mentees just from the very beginning, sort of have a coach throughout and sort of walk you through what med school is like, when to look out for research. And I wish I had something like that in our med school. But really, as a house staff scholar, I was not expecting how much I was going to enjoy creating some of these programs and really focusing on like capacity building and skill building for a lot of our mentees at all different stages. So that's been very rewarding. And overall, like this program is unique. I don't know that there's any other thing like this in other institutions. And I do think that just having this in place is just so important. And it's actually really exciting to see like where you all are going to go in the future, just where your careers are going to launch from here. And I think even the relationships that we built with one another here are just going to be so impactful moving forward. So
I wanted to say that this has been a very interesting and rewarding year at the same time for me. It was also a learning experience for me from a mentorship perspective because I learned a lot of things that I actually thought I knew, but then I realized that I actually didn't know the concepts that well, like the differences between coach, mentor. That was very important actually for me. And it was a really great year to be part of this subcommittee groups, and it was a really interesting interaction between medical student residents, fellows, and faculty trying to plan for this subcommittee. So I hope that you guys enjoy what we actually came up with. I particularly enjoyed the simulators part. I thought it was fantastic. I also wanted to thank my mentees, so Danielle, Darius, and Robert, who I got the pleasure to meet this year. It was also a very rewarding interaction. I learned from them. Hopefully they're learning something from me. I basically tried to share my experience through this long process of becoming a doctor and going through difficult times sometimes, but at the same time I told them things just get better and better. You just have to be patient.
And completing the first year of medical school is such a big win. And so really, so proud of you all for getting there. And so in terms of advice, one of the things that I hope you guys have realized is we try to emphasize that you guys should have mentors in all your stages of life and different mentors that fulfill very different roles. Throughout all of your first year of medical school, you've been the most junior person at your medical school, but this is a really interesting transition. As you go from an MS1 to an MS2, there are now, for maybe the first time, there are people who are more new than you. And I want to give you guys some advice in thinking the role as a near-peer mentor is just so important. And something that I have personally found as a med student being part of this role to be very transformative. And I hope that if you do seek out those opportunities to be a role model and a guide for med students who are now MS1s as you are MS2s, how can you do that effectively? The first thing I want to say is that trust how much you know. You know so much more than you expect. I think it's so easy to feel like you don't really have everything figured out, and how can you be a guide or an advisor for somebody who's younger than you if you don't have all your ducks in order yet? I will say, once you start to have these conversations, you realize that you have accomplished so much more than you thought, and you have developed so much more than you think. And so really trust in the fact that you guys have come a really long way. The second thing I want you to say, to leave with you is that mentorship requires intentionality. And I think it's hard for us to realize this now, but I feel like as a med student, you kind of realize that you get busier and busier as you go. And the only way to make these relationships work is if you are intentionally choosing to show up for them. And so, I don't know, for a long time, I kind of felt like mentorship was something that kind of just happened to me, and that you kind of just maybe organically built these relationships. But if you so seek to be a near-peer mentor, it really means thinking about the person who you're working with and like choosing to show up for them whenever you can. The last thing I want you to know is that these types of relationships are so much fun. They are so fulfilling. And I hope that you guys kind of find that same joy in getting to know somebody and getting to see them develop. That even as a second-year med student, that you can really have that type of impact on a first year who's younger than you. So I want to say again, congratulations and thank you all so much.
What makes this Pathways program so unique is the partnership between Independence Blue Cross Foundation, the Alliance of Minority Physicians, which really ends up being a partnership with Penn and with CHOP. So Independence Blue Cross is a business related to healthcare, but they have really demonstrated their commitment that if they are going to impact the health outcomes of patients, then they know making sure that they address social drivers of health or social determinants of health, and making sure that the providers that are caring for the patients that they cover are culturally competent, understand the barriers that patients face. I think they recognize that that's ultimately to their benefit. And so it's great because those of us at the Alliance of Minority Physicians, and honestly our institutions of Penn and CHOP, we have the same sort of end users. We have the same goal of improving the health of patients, families, communities. And I think the unique resources that we bring together, obviously Independence Blue Cross with the funding that was so helpful, and us with sort of the connection to speakers and to spaces, and I think the expertise in how we equip the next generation to care well for patients. I think that that's really been a unique bond. And when I think about it, it's such a powerful model for how we could think differently about the way that we start to attack social drivers of health, right? Having the input of the physicians who are on the front lines, partnering with the individuals who are determining often the pay structure and the reimbursement, and who have the larger measures of health outcomes because it's their job to, I think gives us a really unique opportunity to impact the health of communities, not just here in Philadelphia and the region, but really could be a model that could work everywhere.